This is probably one of the top 5 food scandals of the 21st century, and we can't underplay it. People need to go to jail. People need to go to jail for this.
Hold on, let's start at the beginning. Right here, tucked away in a nondescript office building, right across from a doctor's office, lies the heart of what could be one of the most significant conspiracies in American business history. It's home to Agri Stats, a data company that built a network used by the nation's largest meat companies. And inside that network, America's meat barons share secret data. It's alleged that Agri Stats organizes and then launders that information across the industry. Companies weaponize it, restricting output, manipulating the market, ultimately raising your prices. All for profit. This video is about that scheme, how something as mundane as data reshaped the American food landscape, siphoning billions from consumers, and how the Biden administration and 4 attorneys general are finally fighting back.
We're at the state capital of Minnesota, where Attorney General Keith Ellison has his offices. He's leading the lawsuit against Agri Stats. Attorney General Ellison, thanks for joining us today.
Really good to be with you, thank you.
What does this complaint allege?
It alleges that under the Sherman Act, you can't share critical information that would have a tendency to reduce competitiveness and competition. They're essentially sharing information in a way that violates Section 1 of the Sherman Act, which prohibits things like conspiracies, collaboration, collusion, things like that.
Agri Stats is the heartbeat of the meat industry. It tracks everything: product prices, the cost to raise an animal, worker wages, and market projections. This info is then turned into reports bought by companies that effectively control all of the chicken, turkey, and pork markets. Tyson, Hormel, and Cargill, they use these insights to raise prices and limit supply, driving up cost for everyone else. But profits for the industry, they go up.
You get information that'll allow you to figure out how to maximize your profit without having to take any chances. Last time I heard capitalism and free markets were all about risk-taking, right? This is a risk-free endeavor because you know what your competitors paying for labor inputs, how many chicks they got, because you have the report right in front of you.
So those are the allegations, and admittedly, the whole thing is kind of boring. It's data. How bad can it be? To find out, we talked to someone who would know. He's Earl Schweizer, a former vice president of Whole Foods who helped lead the firm's rise.
This is a de facto cartel. I mean, this is a racket.
Here's how it worked.
So for each item in the grocery store, whether it be chicken thighs or chicken wings, Agri Stats, they create a report.
The report outlines the price the company charged, the national average of what its competitors charged, and the top quartile.
In fact, it goes deeper than that.
It tells meat processors where their price ranks nationally, then the gap between what they're charging and the national average, and the gap between that and the top 25%.
But I think most importantly, you can actually see the economic impact dollars,
or how much money the company is leaving behind.
The way the data was set up was an incentive for them to raise prices. Like, you have to catch up to the market here. Why are you underselling? You're making us all look bad. Once all these suppliers knew what they were each selling and what they were selling for, it's really just a matter of determining what they wanted to be selling it for.
It's important to note that the reports that Agri Stats produces, they aren't your typical grocery data. The industry calls that syndicated data.
So syndicated data is like a really good test preparation service. It helps you see what trends are. You're getting boiled down top line reports. Agri Stats is just an open book test. It's like you're just essentially giving them the answers. It's night and day. They stole money from the public and they took food off people's tables.
Just 20 miles from here, Cargill was leveraging Agri Stats data. In 2013, they charged slightly less than the Agri Stats average for turkey. When they found out, they started charging more. By 2016, they had surged above it. It's alleged that Agri Stats didn't just provide the information, they actively helped their subscribers interpret it. According to discovered emails, in 2016, Agri Stats consultants told Cargill that at Walmart, it was charging 20 cents more for ground turkey than its primary competitor, but could presumably charge more because it was 11 cents less than another. At one big distributor, the same consultant told Cargill they were 45 cents cheaper than two rivals. Cargill even had a presentation showing the goal of the whole thing: boosting industry-wide prices. JBS did the same thing. Agri Stats reports showed they were charging less than their competitors for pork. What do? They hike up prices on at least 10 products. Everyone followed suit. The outcome? Pork profit margins soared 50% across the industry. There's more. Tyson, Sanderson Farms, Hormel. Think of a meat company. They're probably one of the 40 listed as a co-conspirator. Coincidentally, Agri Stats paused selling turkey and pork reports in late 2019. Why? Well, they were faced with private antitrust litigation.
This is among the most widespread scandals in not only food pricing, but food availability that I've actually ever heard of. The reason why I say this is these price increases force consumers to buy less food because they couldn't afford the same amount of calories that they had before these increases came through. This is a food access scandal, and this is a food apartheid scandal.
Agri Stats claims it merely provides anonymized benchmarking data, and the company ignored our request for an interview. But the defense seems to fall apart. Not only evidence like that previous email, but meat companies have boasted that Agri Stats reports can identify their competitors with 100% certainty. So what's next? Honestly, it's not clear. We're in uncharted waters. Regulators ignored antitrust laws for a generation, and technology, it advanced rapidly.
You know, a lot of the practices now, either in packaged food CPG, probably wouldn't be legal if they actually enforced and updated antitrust laws.
And now we're left with the consequences.
I think that this monopoly problem, this market concentration problem is driving inflation. The goal of the lawsuit is to have fair competitive pricing. It's lower grocery prices. It's grocery prices that people can afford. That's the goal.
But again, it's tricky. Last year, a federal judge ruled in favor of meat companies and Agri Stats in a civil antitrust case. He wrote, "Just because Agri Stats provided a convenient forum to transmit the information did not mean that Agri Stats itself joined the conspiracy." So what's different with this one?
Well, the facts are different. Here in Minnesota, the court has already found that there is a cognizable legal interest. There is a claim to be made.
It's hopeful, but it's also not guaranteed. Most of our antitrust laws were written before mass electricity, let alone streamlined information sharing. In fact, most laws were passed before the Monopoly Man even made his debut. So, are existing antitrust laws enough to handle this? Or do we need additional regulations?
The answer is yes, they are enough to handle this. And the answer is we also need to do some updating. But the Sherman Act, passed in 1890, is enough to stop Agri Stats from this illegal information sharing that it's doing.
But this case could be a start. After 40 years in the wilderness, the Biden and Harris administration and AGs like Ellison have reinvigorated antitrust enforcement. The attorneys general of DC and Arizona are fighting alleged collusion in the rental market. The DOJ has active suits against alleged monopolies Ticketmaster, Apple, Google. All this is happening just 6 years after federal enforcement was at a generational low.
I want to get the trial on this fast because I believe we got a great case, and I believe that what we're fighting for is a fair economy so that all Americans can aspire to prosperity.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. If you have ideas for stories you want us to uncover next, please drop them in the comments below.